well. Pretty much everybody would be interested in Aaron Judge, but it's generated a lot of conversation on social media and the interwebs and so forth. So I will ask you, is this a big deal or a nothing burger?
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays. From game analysis to player interviews, we've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name's Kevin Weiss.
And I'm Ulises Sambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
So whether you're a die-hard fan who vividly remembers Longo's Game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs or Carl Crawford,
we are here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
And every season they've gone to the playoffs, and hopefully they do it again.
So grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X, Instagram at Locked On Rays. This episode of Locked On Rays is brought to you by Booking.com. Yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today.
We won't get much into the loss that the Rays experienced. Interesting note, though, Ulises, the Rays evidently made a somewhat competitive offer to Aaron Judge. I guess that news and report has come out over the course of this Rays Yankees series. A whopping $300 million is what they put on the table. Of course, there were multiple big scale suitors, of course, the Yankees, who we wound up re-signing with, the Giants, and there's another team mixed in there as well. Pretty much everybody would be interested in Aaron Judge, but it's generated a lot of conversation on social media and the interwebs and so forth. So I will ask you, is this a big deal or a nothing burger?
I've been going back and forth, honestly, if it's a nothing burger or if it means a lot. I mean, on the one hand, I think honestly it can be both because look, if you want to be a cynic about it, you can say there's no way in hell that you actually expected Aaron Judge to say yes to 10-year, $300 million offers. Like, that's just not going to cut it. Like, so if you want to be a cynic, you can say, hey, they just did that to say that they were in the race, but not really. And I think that's a believable take if you want to say that. Now, on the other side, hey, you never know if someone's going to say yes or no. So if you're offering $300 million and they say yes, you better be ready to fork over the money. So, I mean, I think whichever side you take, I can see the validity and the arguments for it. But I think I'm right in the middle. I see it as both. I see it as a nothing burger because it wasn't a great offer, but also, what if he says, I'm out of the Yankees. I don't want to go to San Francisco. I want to stay. I'm a Bucks fan, right? It's Florida, no state taxes. I'm Aaron Judge. Yeah. I'm comfortable here. Let's do it.
He does have a home in the Tampa Bay area, spends the offseason there, goes to a lot of Lightning games as well, and maybe wants a change of scenery. Sometimes that happens with players. And it is not the first time that the Rays have been in the running of a big name over the last couple of years, Aaron Judge being one, of course, but it wasn't too long ago that they made a likewise competitive offer, maybe more competitive offer for Freddie Freeman. And there were also rumblings that Marcell Ozuna was of interest to the Rays.
Yeah. And so I think this all kind of changed from the Charlie Morton signing for the 2019 season. You know, I think the front office understood that you have to sometimes play in the big kid pool because you can't just all the bargain signings that you've done haven't really pushed you over the edge. So I think they've tried. I don't think there's anything bad with doing those types of offers, even if they're not going to take it. But I think the fandom needs to realize that it also has to be done with the player in mind. Like they just say yes too. You can offer them as much as you think they would say yes to. But if they don't want to come here, they're not going to sign. Like it's two people. It's like, oh, they never get anybody. Well, those players also need to say, yeah, I'm willing to go to a front office that might not spend a lot like I would like them to. I'm going to go to a place where there are games where 7,000 people are going to show up. My knees. I'm a free agent. I'm 29. I'm 30. It's turf. It's not actual grass. Yeah, these are all things that they need to, take into consideration. I think the fandom sometimes puts a lot of blame on the front office, or 100% blame on the front office when, you got to understand that it's a two-way street.
Yeah, it's two to tango. And I think maybe a little bit conspiracy theory is, the Rays, $300 million is nothing to sneeze at. Of course, Judge wasn't going to accept $300 million, but maybe this is sort of a maneuvering or positioning method by the Rays for now and throughout the new stadium once it does get built, to be on the radar for these agents and the players they represent. Don't totally overlook or forget that maybe they'll land a player every now and again. Like I think Zach Eflin may have chose the Rays over greater monetary offers by other franchises out there. So I just wanted to put that forth.
I think for Zach Eflin in that specific case, it was the Red Sox had basically the last offer on the table, and Zach Eflin said to the Rays, "If you match it, I'll pick you."
Right.
They matched it, and then he picked them. So, that's a great example because it's pretty recent. So you can't be like, "Oh, well, that was 5 years ago." No, that was like the last two off seasons ago.
Right.
But I will say this: the Rays have shown that their proprietary valuation, they do not ever cross that. If they feel like Aaron Judge for them is worth $300 million for 10 years, if Judge were to say 320, no, it's 300. That's like they have a line and they will not break that line. Yeah. It was 15 years for Charlie Morton for 2 years. That's it. For the third season, hey, can you sign me up for 15 mil? Rays go, nah, we thought that you were 15 per season for 2, and that's it. So they have a valuation line, and they're not willing to cross it, which can save you a lot of money, but can also save you a chance at maybe getting that extra step that you need in the playoffs.
Certainly.
You know who's pretty confident? All-star, Isaac Perez. And you can be confident as well. And the one thing that can help you get that confidence is to get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. And you can do that with Stitch Fix. You can easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. I don't like to shop, and they save me the time and effort. Plus, I get outfits that make me look good, which in fact make me feel really, really good. So for style that makes you feel as good as you look, now's the best time to get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $100 off. stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids fixes. Here at Locked On Rays, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for the Rays. Whether it's the offseason, the draft, the team has just gotten swept, it doesn't matter. It's year-round. And you know what else is year-round? Collection season. So just because tax season is over, it doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming for you for unfiled taxes. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. So again, they have 14 years of experience, an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. So whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. And be sure to mention Locked On Rays at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off their services. Again, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon today.
Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that screaming and shouting. So much of that on those networks. Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just thinking of wishes and what could be. Look, I'm not even. At this point, I'd love to have a Marcell Ozuna. I'll take Marcell Ozuna for whatever he got with the Braves than Aaron Judge and $360 million, because Marcell Ozuna, he's playing like an MVP caliber player the last couple of years, and that would be great value. But yeah, it is some interesting points there with the Aaron Judge Rays report.
What do you think this came out just now?
I have no idea.
Any theories? Any tinfoil hats ideas?
Yeah, I don't have anything. Yeah, to me, it just, why now and how did it get leaked, so to speak. But I guess it means that maybe this is something that the Rays are looking at 2025 and after that. Who are the largest free agents on the scale this offseason? Look, Juan Soto, he's not coming to the Rays. We can forget that idea. But maybe there's, you never know, a Pete Alonso or a Bregman or a Bellinger, someone of that ilk. I'm just screaming and clamoring for a middle of the order power bat. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking for. But I just wonder how they would handle having Judge's contract and Franco's contract, because that would have predated the whole off the field issue that Franco's dealing with. And we're not going to get into that today. We'll talk about that more with Klosky and later on. Just really not in the mood to dive into that. Yeah. Quite frankly, this is a little bit hopefully more enjoyable to discuss than what's going on in courts and criminal records and so forth. But yeah, as you mentioned in the first segment, there's challenges and opportunities for the Rays. The biggest challenges right now are the market size and the fan attendance. Players don't want to play before 8,000 fans on a Tuesday. They just don't. They don't want to play in the Trop, just based on the aesthetics and the wear and tear that it takes on the body. And then you also have, playing in St. Petersburg, you have much more, and I guess New York, you're dealing with the same thing, but you're traveling a lot compared to some of those teams that are in the middle part of the country. But I guess the same could also be said if he wound up in San Francisco or San Diego or something like that. Conversely, I feel like the Rays are a good spot for players because of the chemistry that they have in the clubhouse, in the front office. Everybody raves about having Kevin Cash as a boss and a manager. It's a winning organization. We're talking about maybe making the playoffs for the 6th time in a row. They do really put a focus on player first and development. And then, if you're into the Florida climate and no state income tax, you also have that going for you. So it's definitely a balancing act that the Rays have to play with.
Yeah. And so it's up to the players to say, hey, this is worth it to me or not. You did say a name, obviously not Soto, but Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso.
Tampa boy. Like, okay, do you think 10 years, 300 mil is their value? It can't. Okay.
No, if they're valuing Aaron Judge at 10 years, 300, they're probably saying, I don't know, 6 years, 150, something like that.
Right. Yeah. Like
you almost cut it in half for basically, yeah. No way that they would offer $300 million to Pete Alonso at this juncture.
So then isn't it, are you leaning more cynical take or more, hey, good for them that they're doing this and hopefully one will bite? Because if that, I think that is true. I think the 6-year 180, something like that, like I could see that being their valuation for Pete Alonso, and he's actually going to be signing for like $200+ million.
Right.
And they're not going to touch that. But do you lean more cynical or do you lean more like, oh, that's awesome, I want them to keep going even if it's not remotely near what they're going to be signing?
Yeah, I'm more of the optimistic, and at least they're making a somewhat effort to try to coax these guys to come here and just not be in that franchise. Let's not even call them, because we know that they're not going to be interested. At least they're showing of putting their foot in the water and getting to that point. What I hope doesn't happen is that it becomes a Marlins situation where the Rays try to build up a bunch of goodwill and fanfare by, signing free agent here, free agent there. And then whatever happens, the financials aren't working or the team's struggling. And then it's a big fire sale and you have egg on your face. Like, I don't want that to happen. I hope that, and I think the Rays are smarter than that. I think they would really pick and choose their spots of which guy or guys to add. But I would like them to make it to the point where they maybe offer a 9-figure deal to somebody, whoever that is.
I think, although I totally would understand the cynics out there, I think leaning towards the optimism is the right thing, quote unquote, for this fandom, because after this whole Wander situation,
yeah,
which has been just disgusting.
Which, by the way, if the Rays aren't able to null and void his contract, which I would assume if he gets jail time, they would, then that's going to handcuff them for many years, I would presume.
Right. So as a fandom and as a front office, now you're going to be a little bit more leery than usual, offering 9-figure deals to ball players. But I understand the being afraid of, like, oh man, what if it does happen like a fire sale like that happened in 2012 with the Marlins? I think just who they are with their identity and with this whole Wander thing, I think they would not only like study very hard the character of who the person is that they're signing, and do their due diligence as much as they've ever done, and probably a little bit more. But I think they would just do it with one player. I think, like, honestly, like, don't you feel like this team, this group of players just is like one little step behind? Yeah. Like, if you get that middle of the order bat, it kind of just changes the complexion of this team. Like, this team has played, they have underperformed boldly this year. Like, a lot of their players, pitching, defense, base running, offensively, underperformed. They're right around 500 people. Like, that's insane. This team should not be smelling anywhere 500. They should be like 10 below 500, but they're not. So if the performance would kind of equate the talent, and then you add just one punch, one Pete Alonso, one big bat, wouldn't that just kind of take you over the top? Or maybe not. I don't know.
I would think. I mean, it would, based on what the salary is, they would expect said player to be worth 4, 5, 6 wins, something to that effect. And a guy who's been there, done that, a veteran, an all-star, a big-time performer on a big stage, can tie around the young core that is going to be hopefully getting better and staying healthy themselves. But you do, I feel like maybe you don't have to go all wild and wacky as the Rangers when they signed Marcus Semien and Seager, but it worked for them. It worked because those were guys who were professionals that when it came time, not just during the regular season, but the playoffs, they could turn it on and make a difference. And that's, if you really have an ideation on winning a championship, you need a player like a Pete Alonso, like a Bregman, like a Bellinger, like a Judge, like obviously a Soto, somebody that is a game-changing talent and prevents you from getting shut out in a wild card game.
And if you're not going to have that player, that player that everybody that follows baseball like regularly sees and they know who it is, if you don't have that player, then you better hope that one of your guys is having a Randy Arozarena 2020 type of playoff. Like, they have to just overperform their talent, their skill level for a good chunk of like 20 games in October. Like, that's what you need. But that is very, very difficult. That is why Randy Arozarena broke so many freaking records in that October, because what he did was unreal. So if you don't have that type of elite player, you still have to, hope that one of your good players becomes elite for 20 games. And even then, you could still lose in a game 6 of the World Series. This episode of Locked On Rays is brought to you by Booking.com. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about, including our rival cities. Yes, that's New York. Yes, that's Boston. And of course, Baltimore. But you know what? We don't have to like their baseball teams, but we can like their baseball cities. In fact, Kevin was recently in Boston, and I'm sure that he liked Boston, right? Kevin, did you have a good time in Boston?
I did. Outside of the annoying Red Sox fans, it was a good experience.
There you go. That is a perfect takeaway from going to Boston. So from hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. So book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app today. I've told you many times about Game Time. I love using Game Time. Why? Well, because you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you want. They have zone deals too, which means that you can save even more on the app by just choosing a section and let Game Time pick your seats. And my favorite, the seat views. You get a panoramic view from your seats in the app before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Yeah, and I think it would also just uplift the rest of the roster, saying, "Oh wow, the Rays are going for it. They really want to win. They care. They're invested in us." Like, how pumped would a Yandy be, a Randy be, a Brandon Lau be? Because it would just make their numbers better by supplementing a lineup piece like this. And also, you give a guy a big deal. We're probably going to see it with Zach Eflin. He's going to be traded before the life of that deal expires. That's something that I could see the Rays doing, where they offer a 9-figure deal to somebody, and then after a couple years, hey, we've maximized the value. Because the idea is, you give a guy a contract like that, it's front loaded in performance, and you're going to pay for it on the back end. So try to find that piece or that line where you can say, okay, he's still valuable, but we think he's going to depreciate as a player a year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years from now, and we'll just ship him off to a big market team, and they can pay the rest or most of his salary, and we'll get a couple prospects, and we'll do it all over again.
I think that could be a shot, but I think lately, with the types of Bellinger, Snell contracts, it started with Trevor Bauer, Verlander, Scherzer
deals. Yeah, we're seeing the 2 year, 3 year deals option. I mean, didn't Correa sign a 3 year, $100 million deal with the Twins? So that might also be an ongoing theme, as well as, the players want the long-term contracts and the stability and the longevity, but now teams we don't need those albatrosses when we get to year 6, 7, 8 of the deal. Like, wouldn't the Yankees absolutely love to have Carlos Rodon on a 2 or 3 year deal right now? He's on a 6-year deal for $180 million. Imagine what's going to happen a few years from now with that. I mean, he could get better, who knows, but it's not looking so hot right now.
Yeah. So I think the Rays could play with that because of their yearly budget not usually being at the top. I mean, I know that they're at a career high, or a franchise high rather, payroll in 2024. It hasn't worked out for them. So, this could be where the cynics win this out. We're like, see, not more money gets you better performance on the field. All right. But I could see that being a little bit more digestible for the front office. Like, instead of being handcuffed to a guy for 10 years, 30 mil a year, be like, okay, it's 35 for 2. It's 38 for 3. And then being a little bit more, cautious with the other signings. But yeah, I mean, obviously as a Rays fan, you're always going to be wanting that big fish in the middle of the order. And are we ever going to get him? Hopefully.
All the Rays have tried multiple times. They've come up short. Maybe there's this one time, and the news of, I think it might have to get a little bit closer to the stadium opening.
Yes.
I think it's going to have to be, again, a guy doesn't want to have to play 2 or 3 years in the Trop. They want to, when they sign, I think that is the golden ticket, is being able to play in a brand new facility like that.
I think 26, 27. Yeah. With the shovels being on the ground, I think that'll kind of amp up the willingness,
right,
that maybe is lacking there a little bit from the free agents to choose to play the Trop. Because, like, I know we as a fandom, we love the Trop. It's comfortable for us as the fan. We have fun in it. Like, it's a good environment if you're a fan. If you're a player, dude, come on. Like, we have to recognize that as a fandom, right? We recognize that.
Right. The guys who have played in, I mean, if we're being honest, more they're legitimate ballparks in AA and AAA, and then you come to the Trop and it's like, what the hell is this? Playing in a warehouse. This is not what I bargained for here.
Didn't you tell me that you went to a AAA stadium in the Northeast, maybe Philly, that has like more average attendance than the Rays?
So I went to a Reading Phillies game, AA, and it actually is one of the highest attended affiliates in all of baseball. 8,000 fans were at the game. It was packed. Now, part of the reason was, well, really 3 reasons. 1, Phillies fans support anybody and everybody, whether you're single A, AA, AAA. They want to watch the prospects. They want to root for their guys that eventually believe will make it to the big league roster, like Aiden Miller, for example, one of their top prospects. He's got like a roving band behind him of people that want to watch him play before he makes it to the show. Brandon Marsh was also on a brief rehab assignment there, so I think that drummed up some interest. And then there's literally nothing else to do in Reading than watch a baseball game. So those are probably the 3 factors there. But even when I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville Bats, AAA, consistently got 11, 12, 13,000 fans. And if you didn't know better, if you were just a novice sports fan, you'd say, oh, this looks like a big league park. You wouldn't really know much or any different. So, that's something to take into account too.
And I know that, obviously, I think I forget his name. Who did we have on that spoke about the stadium deal?
David Sampson.
Like 3 years ago.
Oh, Michael Lortz, David Sampson.
Yes, thank you. Michael Lortz.
Okay.
He always mentions this fact, like no other Major League Baseball team has to also fight with 7 other minor league teams around their area.
Yeah.
It's a tough. So yeah, you add the 3,000 from the Threshers and the 2,000 from the Tampa Yankees and yada, yada, yada. If that didn't happen, those people potentially could be going to the Trop. Even if it's 20%, that already makes a big bump in the attendance for the Rays.
You add it all up. You have the Tampa Tarpons, you have the Clearwater Threshers, you have the Lakeland Tigers, you have the teams in the Sarasota Bradenton area. They're all over the place, and that's 1,000 fans, 1,500 fans, 2,000 fans, 3,000 fans, and families that have 2, 3, 4 kids. it's a cheaper experience and maybe a just as enjoyable experience than going to a Rays game. So want to note just a couple other quick things on Aaron Judge. I know we're running long here on the Aaron Judge discussion, but sometimes that happens. We just dovetail into a topic and
That's right.
go from there. He said, quote, it was a very respectful offer of the Rays, and I appreciated that they reached out and that they thought enough of me to do that. And I respect their team. I respect what they have built here. They have a good club and their team is tough, but it was hard to think about playing for them because I've spent my whole career game planning against them and trying to beat them. Yeah, that's part of it too, is maybe the Rays had some, in terms of their algebra, they were thinking, not only will we have Aaron Judge and all the wins, publicity and marketing and butts in the seats that will sell, but we're also taking an Aaron Judge away from the Yankees. How do they replace Aaron Judge? So that probably racked up another few $1 million in their algorithm that they put forth. So, and like we said, trying to build goodwill with agents, also players. Aaron Judge talks to other players. He's got friends in high places. Maybe, hey, you know what? I didn't sign with them, but they were interested. They're legitimate. You might want to research them a little bit more and think hard about signing with them for a little bit lesser money compared to another organization.
And this quote helps that. This quote helps get to future free agents that might not have the Rays on their bingo card and say, actually, well, Judge just said that about the Rays. Wow, I never thought that they were going to be in that discussion and that type of discussion. So now you already have them on your atmosphere and your side of vision, and that's pretty good. And you're also right about it's a business, so the fact that you are talking to agents and doing this sort of work, it's fantastic. We also had a mailbag question about Roordvet, but we'll
have to save that for another day and time, maybe with Klosky or next week, but we'll dive into that at some point. Just first want to get to some listener comments here on the news that broke regarding Aaron Judge and the Rays. David Lopez says, I once made an offer on a house on Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa. I had about the same chance of getting it as the Rays had of getting Judge. He also says, I'm as big a fan of the Rays as they come. Let's be real. Players like that don't sign here, period. Jake Stokes says the answer is no until you ask. Our buddy Argenis says, don't be mad at him, Rays fans. After all those Yankees losses in the postseason to the Astros, must have really disrupted him. And then Steve St. Pierre says, this tells me they should finish second on Soto as well. So there we go.
I love the quality humor and the quality tweets. Keep them coming. It's a great Locked On Rays community we have.
Yeah. And you know what? Continuing further on the previous points there, yes, money is probably the utmost factor, but these are also humans. It's a people business. You need those soft skills. You need to develop those relationships, those partnerships, get along with players like this. And I think this is kind of the first road or bridge to, being in the arena to land somebody like this in the future. So I'll just throw that out there. Just, you always got to, I legitimately appreciate that the Rays at least put an offer on the table. And it wasn't like a crazy, all right, yeah, we'll offer you Aaron Judge 10 years for $80 million, like $300 million. Let's remember that too. So, all right. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe. And on Friday, we will talk to our buddy, Evan Klosky. Stay tuned.